What is the absolute worst nightmare for a new parent? How about having your 18-month-old trapped 22 feet below the ground in an 8-inch well? You run outside. Your heart is racing. Panic sets in. This is the dark reality that the Morales family faced in October of 1987. Nothing could prepare them for the next 58 hours. This is a chilling breakdown of how it all unfolded. Texas, October 14, 1987. The McClure family resided in the modest town of Midland. Sissy and Chip were young parents at the age of 18. Their beautiful baby girl, Jessica, loved watching Winnie the Pooh. She was an adventurous toddler, constantly keeping her parents on their toes. Sissy and the baby often spent time at her sister Jamie's house. Sissy would often help out Jamie at her in-home daycare while Chip was at work. This allowed for Jessica to play with the other kids. Horror struck on October 14th. Sissy was keeping an eye on the kids in the backyard. The phone rang from inside the house. Sissy stepped away to answer it, as there were no cell phones back then. She heard the panic of the screams coming from the backyard. She dropped the phone and ran outside. Sissy found all the children gathered around. She pushed past them, and her heart sank. "Where's Jessica?" Panic gripped her. The children said nothing. She looked around. "Where's Jessica?" Anxiety mounted. The children gestured to the well. An opening to the well with a diameter of 20 centimeters. The hole was barely big enough for baby Jessica. Peering down, Sissy spotted her daughter trapped below. Despite her attempts to reach Jessica, the distance was too great to pull her up. And even if she could, there was no guarantee that Jessica could fit back through the narrow opening. Frantically, Sissy dialed 911, pleading for help to rescue her daughter. The agonizing waits of the emergency responders felt like an eternity. Sissy explained that they had covered the well with a large rock to prevent accidents, and she never imagined this scenario. The cops arrived and attempted to communicate with Jessica. Nothing. They tried again. Still nothing. Then a faint cry. Sissy feared her daughter was slowly descending the 22-foot shaft. As first responders arrived at the scene, they knew they had to act quick. They devised a plan to rescue Jessica before she fell any further. News of the incident had spread throughout the town. It was a tight-knit community, and everyone wanted to help in any way that they could. The police set up a barricade to keep people off the scene. Many harbored doubts about the outcome, as similar cases rarely ended well. A similar incident happened 5 years earlier. It involved a young boy named Alfredo. It didn't end well. For the rescuers tasked with saving 18-month-old Jessica McClure, the situation was urgent. Each passing moment brought her closer to the potential tragic outcome. In the suburban yard, a crowd gathered around the tiny well. Among them were police, first responders, volunteers, and media personnel, all hoping for a straightforward solution to the dilemma. However, the situation was far from simple. The well was 80 feet deep, narrowed to 4 inches at 22 feet deep. They hoped this would stop her from descending any further. What if it didn't, though? What if the pressure squeezed her into the 4 inches? Time was working against them. Their plan involved drilling a parallel well, a hole about 5 to 7 feet away from the original. Machinery was brought in for the purpose. The machines were loud. They shook the earth. Every time they turned them on, baby Jessica would cry and scream. Despite the challenges, they persisted. They used a large rat hole drilling rig. Every once in a while, they would halt the drilling to ensure Jessica's safety and well-being. They would yell down to baby Jessica, waiting for a response. Sissy and Chip were right there by the well, trying their best to calm the little girl. Sometimes they couldn't hear baby Jessica at all, so they would pause the drilling altogether. They hoped she was just napping. They would yell out for 20 minutes with no response. They had to move on with the drilling. They were wasting precious time. 30 minutes later, they stopped the drilling for a second and could hear a little Jessica singing. They were overjoyed. A detective stationed next to the well listened for signs of Jessica stirring or expressing fear. They tried to uplift her spirits. They would sing Winnie the Pooh to her. That was her favorite song. Eventually, they successfully drilled a 30-inch wide and 29-foot deep hole directly across from Jessica's location. This allowed them to descend without risking any harm of her, as they drilled 2 feet deeper than her presumed position. The media coverage from the rescue operation quickly escalated. It went from statewide to nationwide, with CNN providing continuous coverage. This was a rarity in 1987. The nation was gripped by baby Jessica's plight, with widespread media coverage reminiscent of the Challenger space shuttle disaster from previous years. Jessica became a symbol of the collective concern, earning the endearing title, Everyone's Baby. As rescuers worked tirelessly to drill a hole parallel to Jessica's well, they also ensured a continuous supply of oxygen for her safety. Drilling sideways posed unforeseen challenges that Charles Buller described as one of the toughest tasks he'd ever encountered. Yet the sound of Jessica crying spurred him on, serving as a reminder of his own child's vulnerability. Despite the relentless efforts of the rescuers, Sissy and Chip felt the agonizing passage of time, with the days bleeding into nights as they anxiously awaited their daughter's rescue. Viewers across the country expressed their support for the McClure family, sending flowers, toys, cards, and donations. Despite the outpouring of generosity, concerns mounted as Jessica spent 48 hours trapped in the well, dirty and frightened. Medical advice cautioned against sending food and water down to her, due to the risk of exacerbating any medical injuries. After 58 hours, rescuer Robert O'Donnell emerged from the well, cradling Jessica in his arms. The tension and anticipation among the onlookers was palpable, captured in the emotional reactions of those witnessing the rescue unfold. Finally, as Jessica emerged from the well, blinking in the daylight, the crowd erupted into joyous cheers and tears of relief. It was a moment of triumph and gratitude for the bravery and resilience of the little girl who had endured the darkness and isolation for 2.5 days. Jessica was discovered wrapped in a spine board, her head bandaged, body covered in cuts, bruises, dried blood, and despite her condition, she was alive. Rushed to the hospital in an awaiting ambulance, Jessica's survival was deemed miraculous. Although she didn't suffer a broken neck or spine, her leg had been above her head during the ordeal, causing gangrene in her foot. Doctors managed to save her foot with skin grafts, though she lost the small toe. Additionally, she had a prominent scar on her face from her hairline to the bridge of her nose and was diagnosed with chronic rheumatoid arthritis. Major TV networks interrupted regular programming to broadcast the rescue to the world, underscoring the significance of her survival. The broadcast of Jessica's rescue drew unprecedented viewership, yet the McClure family remained unaware of the media frenzy, as the rescuers had cut off electricity to their home during the rescue. Upon learning Jessica's newfound fame at the hospital, they were overwhelmed, the support pouring in from across the country. Jessica underwent 15 surgeries over the next following years, funded by generous donations. The family established a trust for her. Despite the overwhelming attention, both the McClure family and the rescuers faced difficulties adjusting into the newfound prominence, with some experiencing a sense of emptiness after the adrenaline-filled rescue. The heroes of Jessica's rescue struggled to return to their normal life after the spotlight faded. Jamie Morris, Sissy's sister and homeowner where the incident occurred, moved away due to the overwhelming visitors. A memorial now covers the well. Chip and Sissy divorced 2 years later, facing tabloid scrutiny. Chip managed a restaurant and remarried, while Sissy emphasized Jessica's normalcy. As the story unfolds, it's quite evident that sometimes tragedy strikes when you least expect it. The rescue of Jessica McClure is one of faith, determination, and hope.